The moment Candace pushed that beautifully wrapped box back across the table toward me, I felt my whole body go cold. We were sitting in the Pearl, this nice Black-owned restaurant downtown, where my late husband Thomas and I used to celebrate our own anniversaries. The low lighting made everything feel warm and romantic. Gospel jazz played softly in the background. Other families around us were laughing and enjoying their meals, but at our table, the air had turned to ice. "Mrs. Coleman," Candace said, not even calling me Mama Evelyn like she used to when she first married my son. "We appreciate the thought, but we've been very clear about what we need right now. Cash only. We have no use for any more sentimental items cluttering up our home." She didn't even open it. Didn't even touch the silver bow I had tied so carefully that morning. My hands had shaken while I wrapped that box, thinking about how happy my Darnell would be. How this gift would change everything for them. "Baby," my son Darnell said quietly, touching her arm. "Maybe we should at least see what—" "No," Candace cut him off, her eyes still on me, cold, hard. "Your mother needs to understand that we're building a real future. A serious future. We can't keep accepting handmade quilts and photo albums and whatever other garage sale junk she thinks we need. We're not struggling newlyweds anymore. We need actual help, or nothing at all." The waiter, a young brother who had been so sweet all evening, froze near our table with the dessert menu. He looked at me with pity in his eyes. I wanted to disappear into the floor. I pulled the box back toward me. My throat felt tight. "I understand," I managed to say, even though I didn't understand at all, even though my heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces right there in that restaurant booth. Candace smiled then, victorious. She reached for her wine glass like she had just won something. "Good. Now that we're all on the same page, maybe we can talk about what we actually need. We're looking at vacation properties and the down payment." I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor loud enough that people at nearby tables looked over. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to use the restroom." I grabbed that box and my purse and walked through that restaurant with my head up, even though tears were already sliding down my cheeks. In the bathroom, I locked myself in a stall and let myself cry. Really cry. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep in your soul. 58 years old, and my own daughter-in-law had just humiliated me in public, had just rejected a gift she didn't even bother to open. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Let me take you back 6 years, to when I first met Candace. My son Darnell had always been a good boy. Smart, kind. After his father Thomas died from a heart attack when Darnell was only 16, it was just the two of us against the world. I worked 2 jobs, mornings at the elementary school cafeteria and evenings cleaning offices downtown, to make sure he could go to college. Georgia State University. First person in our family to get a degree. I was so proud, I cried at his graduation like a baby. He met Candace at his accounting firm. She worked in marketing. Pretty girl. Light skin, long hair she kept in perfect Brazilian curls, always dressed like she stepped out of a magazine. When Darnell first brought her to Sunday dinner at my little house in southwest Atlanta, she seemed sweet enough. Said all the right things, complimented my mac and cheese, laughed at my stories about Darnell as a kid. "Mama," Darnell had told me that night after Candace left, his eyes all lit up. "I think she's the one, I really do." And I wanted to be happy for him, I really did. But something in my spirit felt uneasy. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes when she looked around my modest home. The way she checked her phone constantly during grace. The way she touched things. My grandmother's china cabinet, my mother's quilts, like she was appraising them at an auction. But I kept my mouth shut. A mother's job is to raise her son to make his own choices, not to control him. So when they got engaged 8 months later, I hugged them both and told them I was thrilled. And part of me was. My baby was happy. That's all a mother really wants, right? The wedding was at the Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead, Candace insisted. My house note at the time was $600 a month, and the wedding cost more than I made in 2 years. Candace's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison from Stone Mountain, had money. Her daddy owned 3 car dealerships. They paid for most of it, thank the Lord. But Candace still expected contributions from me. "It's tradition," she told me over lunch one day, 2 months before the wedding. "The groom's family is supposed to pay for certain things. The rehearsal dinner, for instance." "I can do something small," I said, my stomach knotting up. "Maybe at my church? Pastor Williams would let us use the fellowship hall for free, and I could cook." "No," Candace said, not even letting me finish. "We've already booked a private room at Ray's on the river. It seats 60. Your contribution would be $8,000. $8,000. I had $3,200 in my savings account, money I'd been putting away for years in case of emergency. In case something happened and Darnell needed help. I took out a loan, a small personal loan from the credit union where I'd banked for 30 years. The interest rate made me sick to think about, but I did it. Because that's what mothers do. We sacrifice. We give until it hurts. We want our children to have better than we had. The rehearsal dinner was beautiful. Candace barely said thank you. She was too busy making sure the floral centerpieces matched her vision, making sure the photographer got the right angles. But Darnell hugged me so tight that night and whispered, "Thank you, Mama, for everything." That hug made the loan worth it. Or so I thought. The trouble started about a year after the wedding. Darnell and Candace had moved into a nice townhouse in Midtown. 2 bedrooms, granite countertops, hardwood floors throughout. The rent was $2,800 a month. I know because Darnell mentioned it once, and I nearly fainted. That was more than my house note, my car payment, and all my utilities combined. At first they came to visit regular. Sunday dinners, holidays, birthdays. Candace would sit on my couch with her designer purse in her lap like she was afraid something might crawl on it. But she came. She smiled. She played the part. Then the visits got less frequent. Work was busy, they said. They had plans. They were tired. Always an excuse. Always something more important than sitting at my table and eating my cooking. "Darnell, baby," I said one Sunday when he showed up alone. "Where's Candace?" "She's not feeling well, Mama. Headache." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "She had a headache last week, too," I said gently. "And the week before that. She's stressed. Work stuff." He stabbed at his collard greens like they had personally offended him. "And she thinks, Mama, don't take this wrong, but she thinks maybe we should establish better boundaries. We're grown now, you know? We need to live our own lives." Boundaries. That word felt like a slap. "I'm not trying to control y'all," I said, my voice shaking. "I just want to see my son sometimes. Have a meal together. Is that so wrong?" "No, Mama. Of course not." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'll talk to her. I promise." But things only got worse. The visits became monthly, then every other month. Phone calls got shorter. Texts went unanswered for days. And when they did come around, Candace had this new attitude. Like she was doing me a favor by showing up. Like my home was beneath her now. The Lakehouse. I should tell you about the Lakehouse. My parents bought it in 1968, right after the Fair Housing Act passed. Took every penny they had saved for 20 years. It was a small cabin on Lake Lanier, about an hour north of Atlanta. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a screened-in porch that overlooked the water. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. One of the first properties in that area owned by a Black family. Growing up, that Lakehouse was my heaven. Every summer, Mama and Daddy would pack up our old station wagon, and we'd spend weeks up there. Swimming, fishing, having cookouts on the beach. My cousins would come. The neighbors, other Black families who were making their own way, would stop by. We'd play spades on the porch until midnight, listening to the water lap against the shore. When Mama died in 2003, she left the Lakehouse to me. Daddy had passed 2 years before that. In the will, Mama wrote, "This house represents freedom. Keep it in the family. Let it remind you of where we came from and what we built." I kept that promise. Even when money got tight after Thomas died, even when I could have sold it to pay off the house or clear my debts, I held on to that lake house. I went up there when I needed peace. When the world felt too heavy, I'd sit on that porch and talk to Thomas like he was still with me. I'd remember my parents' laughter echoing through those walls. And I always imagined passing it on to Darnell one day, watching him bring his own children there, teaching them to fish like my daddy taught me, keeping that legacy alive. For their 5th anniversary, this year, 2024, I decided it was time. Darnell and Candace had been married 5 years. That felt significant. Long enough to know they were in it for real. Long enough to start thinking about their own legacy. I went to my lawyer, Mr. Bernard Jenkins, a nice man from my church who had handled my mama's estate. I told him I wanted to transfer the deed to my son and his wife, make it official, give them the Lakehouse as an anniversary gift. "Evelyn," Mr. Jenkins said, looking at me over his glasses, "are you sure about this? This property has been in your family for over 50 years. Once you sign it over—" "I'm sure," I said. "Darnell is my only child. It should be his. And maybe this will help Candace see that I'm not trying to hold them back. I want them to have something real, something valuable, something they can build on." He drew up the paperwork. It took 3 weeks to process everything, get it notarized, make sure the title was clear. The lake house was worth about $350,000 now. The land alone was valuable. Never mind the cabin and the private dock. It was paid off completely. Free and clear. No mortgage, no liens, nothing. Whoever owned it could rent it out, sell it, live in it, pass it on to their kids. Pure equity, pure freedom. I put the deed in a beautiful wooden box I found at a craft fair, lined it with velvet, added a handwritten note. "To Darnell and Candace, this represents our family's past and your future. Love, Mama Evelyn." I was so excited I could barely sleep the night before our dinner. I kept imagining Darnell's face when he opened it. The way he'd probably cry because he knew what that lake house meant to me, to us. The way, maybe, finally, Candace would understand that I wasn't some broke old lady trying to burden them with junk. I had something real to offer, something valuable. That's what made the rejection so much worse. She didn't even look, didn't even try. After I composed myself in that restaurant bathroom, I walked back to the table. The dessert had arrived, 3 slices of red velvet cake that no one was eating. "Feeling better?" Candace asked, her tone making it clear she didn't actually care. "Yes," I lied. The box sat in my lap now, under the table where no one could see it. My shame, my secret. Darnell looked miserable. His eyes were red. I knew that look. That was the look he had when he was 12 and got in trouble at school for something he didn't do but couldn't prove. Helpless. Trapped. "Mama," he started. "I'm sorry about—" "It's fine," I said quickly. "It's your anniversary. Let's not ruin it." We finished the meal in awkward silence. When the check came, Candace made a show of pulling out her credit card. "Don't worry, Mrs. Coleman. We've got it. We know money is tight for you." That little dig. That little reminder that I wasn't on their level anymore, if I ever had been. I drove home to my little house in southwest Atlanta with that box on the passenger seat. Every red light, I looked at it. That beautiful wrapping, that silver bow. Inside it, $350,000 worth of property and love and family history. Rejected without a second thought. I carried it inside and set it on my kitchen table. I made myself a cup of tea and sat there in the dark, just staring at that box. My phone buzzed. A text from Darnell. "Mama, I'm sorry about tonight. Candace is stressed. I'll call you tomorrow." Not an apology from her. Not even an acknowledgement. Just my son making excuses again. I didn't respond. I just sat there, drinking my tea, looking at that box, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. The next morning, I called Mr. Jenkins. "Did you give them the gift?" he asked. "They rejected it," I said, "without opening it." Silence on the line. Then, "Oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry yet," I said. "I need you to hold off on filing that deed transfer. Actually, I need you to reverse it. Put the property back in my name only. Can you do that?" "Of course. Since the transfer wasn't filed with the county yet, it's simple enough." "But are you sure?" "I'm sure," I said. "If they don't want my gifts, they won't get my gifts." "Understood," Mr. Jenkins said quietly. "Consider it done." I hung up and looked at that box again. Then I opened it, took out the deed, read my parents' names on the original document from 1968, read my name from the transfer in 2003, read where Darnell and Candace's names had almost been added but never were. I put everything back in the box and put the box in my hall closet, out of sight, out of mind. For now. 3 weeks later, my son called me crying, actually crying. I hadn't heard him cry like that since his daddy's funeral. "Mama," he sobbed, "we need help. We really need help, and I didn't know who else to call." "Baby, slow down," I said, my heart racing. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" "No, Mama, it's not that." He was gulping air between words. "It's Candace. She's leaving me. She said she's done. She's packing her things right now." I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. "What happened?" "We got rejected. For the loan." The vacation home loan we've been working on for months. Candace had her heart set on this property in Hilton Head. A beach condo. She wanted it so bad, Mama. She kept talking about how we could rent it out, make passive income, build wealth. But the bank said no. Our debt-to-income ratio is too high. I closed my eyes. Here we go. And now she's saying I'm not ambitious enough, that I don't make enough money, that she married me thinking I'd be further along by now. She's upstairs throwing clothes in suitcases, saying she's going to stay with her parents until she figures out what she wants to do. Darnell, I don't know what to do, Mama. I love her. I know she can be difficult sometimes, but I love her. And now she's saying maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we're not compatible, all because of a stupid loan. My mouth opened, then closed. Part of me wanted to say, "Good riddance. Let her go. You deserve better than someone who only loves you when you have money to throw around." But the other part of me, the mother part, heard my baby boy crying and wanted to fix it. "How much do you need?" I heard myself ask. "For the down payment." "No, Mama, no. I didn't call you for money. I know you don't have it. I just needed to talk to someone who cares about me." That broke my heart even more than the anniversary dinner. "Come over," I said. "Right now. Come to Mama's house." He showed up 40 minutes later. His eyes were swollen, his dress shirt wrinkled. He collapsed onto my couch like all the air had gone out of him. I made him a plate, even though he said he wasn't hungry. Baked chicken, rice and gravy, green beans. The same meal I made when he was little and had a bad day at school. He picked at it while I sat next to him, rubbing his back like I did when he was 6 years old. "Tell me about this loan," I said gently. "It's stupid." He set down his fork. "Candace saw this condo online. 2 bedrooms, ocean view, in a building with a pool and tennis courts. $300,000. We'd need $60,000 for the down payment, plus closing costs. We've got about $15,000 saved. We were so sure we'd get approved. Candace already told all her friends we were buying it, already planned what furniture she'd get, how we'd decorate, and then the bank just said no. Why? Because we're already stretched thin. The townhouse rent, her car payment. She's driving a BMW now, Mama. My student loans, credit card debt. We make good money. Both of us. But it goes out as fast as it comes in. The bank looked at everything and said we're a risk. I wanted to say, maybe stop trying to look rich and start trying to be stable, but I bit my tongue. Candace thinks if we had help with the down payment, we could swing it. She wants me to ask her parents, but I can't do that, Mama. Her daddy already thinks I'm not good enough for her. Always has. If I go to him begging for money, I'll never hear the end of it. So she's leaving you because you won't beg her father for money? Darnell looked at me with the saddest eyes I'd ever seen. She's leaving because she thinks I'm a failure, and maybe she's right. Don't you dare, I said sharply. Don't you dare let that woman make you feel like you're not enough. You have a good job. You're educated. You're kind. You're loyal. Those things matter more than vacation homes and BMWs. Not to her, he whispered. We sat there for a long time. Eventually, he fell asleep on my couch, exhausted from crying. I covered him with one of Mama's old quilts, one of those sentimental items Candace thought was junk, and watched him sleep. My baby. My only child. Trapped in a marriage that was breaking him down piece by piece. I thought about that box in my closet, the deed that could solve all their problems, that could give Candace exactly what she wanted: property, equity, something to brag about to her friends, something worth $350,000, way more than that Hilton Head condo. But she had thrown my gift back at me, without even looking. I went to bed that night with a war in my heart. The next morning, Darnell's phone kept buzzing. Text after text. Finally, he looked at it and winced. She's at her parents' house, he said. She's telling them I'm financially irresponsible, that I misled her about my earning potential, that she's considering whether the marriage is viable. Viable, I repeated. Like y'all are a business deal. Her parents want to meet with me, tonight, at their house. He looked terrified. You want me to come with you? No, Mama. This is my mess to clean up. But he didn't clean it up. He came back to my house at 10 that night looking worse than before. Candace's father had apparently lectured him for 2 hours about financial responsibility, about being a man, about providing for his wife the way she deserved. Candace had sat there silent, letting her daddy attack him. At the end, Mr. Harrison had said they'd give Darnell 1 month to figure things out before Candace made any permanent decisions. Figure what out? I asked. Find money. Prove I can give her the life she wants. Something. Darnell put his head in his hands. I'm so tired, Mama. I'm so tired of never being enough. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched my son fall apart. He stopped eating right, started missing work, lost weight. His eyes had this hollow look that scared me. And Candace? She stayed at her parents' house, posting on social media like everything was fine. Pictures of her at brunch with her girlfriends. Shopping bags from Lenox Mall. Living her best life while my son suffered. I tried to focus on other things. My job at the school cafeteria. My church activities. My friend Dorothy from down the street who came by for coffee every Wednesday. But everywhere I looked, I saw that box in my closet, calling to me, tempting me. Girl, you looking troubled, Dorothy said one Wednesday, stirring sugar into her coffee. What's eating at you? Dorothy had been my friend for 20 years, lived 3 houses down. We'd raised our kids together, gone through widowhood together, held each other up through hard times. If anyone would understand, it was her. I told her everything. The anniversary dinner, the rejection, the deed, Darnell's marriage falling apart, all of it. Dorothy listened without interrupting, her face getting more and more serious. When I finished, she set down her coffee cup and looked me dead in the eye. Evelyn Coleman, don't you dare give that girl your family's Lakehouse. But Darnell is a grown man, and that woman is showing you exactly who she is. Believe her. If you give her that property now, you know what'll happen? She'll take it, probably divorce Darnell anyway once she gets bored, and you'll never see that Lakehouse again. Your mama and daddy's legacy will be gone. For what? To save a marriage that's already broken? But my son is hurting. Your son is hurting because he married a woman who don't love him. She loves his wallet. And his wallet ain't fat enough for her taste. Dorothy reached across and grabbed my hand. Honey, I know you want to fix this. But you can't fix what you didn't break. That's between Darnell and his wife and God. So I just do nothing? Just watch him suffer? No, you be his mama. You love him. You support him. You remind him who he is. But you don't set yourself on fire to keep them warm. Especially when one of them is the one who struck the match. I knew she was right. Deep down, I knew. But maternal instinct is a powerful thing. It makes you want to sacrifice everything, even your own dignity, to protect your child from pain. That Sunday, I went to church like always, Metropolitan AME, where I'd been a member for 35 years. Pastor Williams preached about Esau selling his birthright for a bowl of stew, about how sometimes we give away what's precious for temporary satisfaction. I felt like he was speaking directly to me. After service, I was heading to my car when I ran into Sister Geneva, one of the church mothers. She was 92 years old, sharp as a tack, and didn't bite her tongue for nobody. "Evelyn, baby," she said, touching my arm with her soft, wrinkled hand. "The Lord put you on my heart this morning. You carrying something heavy. Want to talk about it?" I found myself telling her the whole story, too. Right there in the church parking lot, in the October sunshine. Sister Geneva nodded slowly when I finished. "Let me tell you something my grandmother told me when I was a young woman." She said, "Don't give pearls to people who can't tell the difference between pearls and gravel. They'll lose them, break them, or trade them for something cheap. Save your pearls for people who know their value." But what about Darnell? That boy needs to learn to stand on his own 2 feet. You've carried him long enough. Time for him to carry himself. She patted my cheek. And that woman he married? She ain't never gonna be satisfied. Not with a condo, not with a lake house, not with nothing. Because satisfied ain't in her. She's got a hole in her soul that no amount of property can fill. I drove home with those words ringing in my ears. That night, Darnell called again. His voice was different now, harder, defeated. "Mama, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay, baby." "That gift you brought to the anniversary dinner, what was it?" My heart stopped. "Why are you asking?" "Because Candace has been on me about it. She keeps saying you probably had something valuable and you took it back out of spite. She thinks maybe it was jewelry or bonds or something. She says we should have opened it, that we made a mistake by refusing it." He paused. "Was it something valuable?" I stood in my kitchen, looking at my closed hall closet. The box was in there, right there, 20 feet away. I could walk over, pull it out, drive to his townhouse, hand it over, save his marriage, make him happy. But I remembered Candace's face at that restaurant, the cold dismissal, the cruelty. "It was something I thought you'd appreciate," I said carefully. "But if Candace doesn't want my sentimental junk, then it doesn't matter what it was." "Mama, please, just tell me. Was it valuable?" "Darnell, why does it matter? She made it clear." "Because she's saying if it was something we could use, we should get it. She thinks you're being petty and vindictive by not telling us what it was." There it was. Not an apology, not a request, a demand. Candace had sent my son to find out what he'd missed out on, so she could decide if it was worth swallowing her pride. "You tell Candace," I said, my voice colder than I'd ever used with my son, "that she had her chance. She didn't want my gift. She made that very clear in front of a whole restaurant full of people. What was in that box is no longer any of her concern." "Mama? No. I'm done, Darnell. I'm done being disrespected. I'm done being treated like I'm worthless. And I'm done watching you let that woman turn you into someone I don't recognize. You want to know what was in the box? Ask yourself why you married someone who cares more about what things cost than what they mean. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never spoken to my son like that. Ever. He didn't call back. Not that night. Not the next day. But 3 days later, Dorothy called me, her voice urgent. "Girl, turn on Channel 2 News, right now." I grabbed my remote. The news anchor was talking about property values. Then they showed a map of Lake Lanier. My heart started pounding. The area has seen unprecedented growth in property values over the past year. Lakefront homes that were worth $300,000 in 2023 are now selling for upwards of $450,000, with some properties going for as much as $600,000. Real estate experts say the trend is expected to continue as more wealthy buyers from Atlanta seek weekend retreats. $450,000, my lake house, my family's property, worth even more than I thought. I sat down hard. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. "Mrs. Coleman, this is Brandon Pierce from Infinity Real Estate. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time, but I'm reaching out to property owners in the Lake Lanier area. We have clients actively looking to purchase lakefront property, and I see you own a cabin on Willow Cove Road. Would you be interested in discussing a potential sale? I have a buyer willing to make a very competitive cash offer." "No," I said. "That property is not for sale." "I understand. But if I could just tell you what my client is offering." I said no, thank you. I hung up. My phone rang again immediately. Another realtor. I didn't answer. Then another. And another. Apparently, my lake house was suddenly very desirable. That evening, Darnell showed up at my door unannounced. He looked awful. Thin, unshaven, wrinkled clothes. But there was something else in his eyes now. Something desperate. "Mama," he said, "we need to talk. About that gift. About everything. Can I come in?" I let him in. He sat at my kitchen table, the same table where the rejected box had sat for weeks. "Candace and I have been fighting," he said. "A lot. About money. About the future. About your gift. She's convinced it was something valuable, and she's angry that I didn't force you to tell us what it was." "Force me?" Her words, not mine. He rubbed his face. "Mama, I'm at the end of my rope. She's given me an ultimatum. Either I fix our financial situation by the end of the month, or she's filing for divorce. And her daddy has been calling me, saying things, threatening things." "Threatening?" "Saying I took advantage of his daughter, that I misrepresented myself, that he has lawyer friends who can make sure I don't get a penny in a divorce." Darnell's voice cracked. "Mama, I'm scared. I don't know what to do." I looked at my son, really looked at him. This wasn't the confident young man who'd graduated from Georgia State. This wasn't the boy who used to help me in the garden, who used to sit at this table doing homework while I cooked dinner. This was a broken man, broken by a woman who didn't love him, broken by trying to be something he wasn't. "Darnell," I said softly, "do you remember when you were 10 and you wanted those expensive basketball shoes? The ones all the other kids had?" "Mama, what does that have to—" "Do you remember?" I insisted. He sighed. "Yes, the Air Jordans. They cost $150. We couldn't afford them." "And do you remember what I told you?" You said that shoes don't make the man. That who I am has nothing to do with what I wear or what I have." "And do you believe that now?" He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "I don't know anymore, Mama. Candace makes me feel like I'm not enough, like I'll never be enough." "Then maybe," I said carefully, "you need to ask yourself if you want to spend the rest of your life with someone who makes you feel that way." Before he could respond, his phone rang. He looked at the screen and turned pale. "It's Candace," he said. "She's with a real estate agent. At a lake house on Lake Lanier." He looked up at me, his face full of confusion. "Mama, why is she texting me photos of a property on Willow Cove Road? Why is she saying this could have been ours?" The blood drained from my face. "She's at your Lakehouse, isn't she?" Darnell stood up slowly. "The gift. The anniversary gift. It was the deed to the Lakehouse." "Oh my God. Mama, please tell me it wasn't—" His phone rang again. He answered it, his hand shaking. I could hear Candace's voice screaming through the phone, even from across the table. "Your mother's property. Do you know what this is worth, Darnell? Do you know? And you let me reject it. You let me throw it back in her face. This could have solved everything. We could have sold it, bought 3 condos, and now—" Darnell looked at me, his face white as a sheet. "How does she know?" That's when we heard a car pull up outside, tires screeching, a car door slamming. Candace burst through my front door without knocking, her face twisted with rage. Behind her, looking embarrassed, was a man in a suit carrying a clipboard. "You conniving old—" Candace started toward me. "Candace!" Darnell moved between us. She shoved past him, getting right in my face. "You had the deed! The whole time you had the deed to a $450,000 property, and you let me reject it. You set me up. You set us both up!" "I didn't set up anything," I said, my voice steady even though my heart was pounding. "I offered you a gift. You rejected it, without even opening it. That's on you." "Give it to us now!" Candace screamed. "It should be ours. You were going to give it to us anyway. You owe us." "I don't owe you anything." "Mrs. Coleman," the real estate agent said nervously, "perhaps we could discuss—" "Get out of my house," I said, looking at him. "You're trespassing." He left quickly, but Candace didn't move. She stood there, shaking with rage, her manicured nails digging into her palms. "You're going to regret this," she hissed. "We'll sue you for emotional distress, for elder abuse, for manipulating us." "Sue me for what?" I asked calmly. "For offering you a gift you rejected? Good luck with that." "Candace." "Let's go," Darnell said, pulling her arm. She jerked away from him. "No, she needs to give us what's ours." "It was never yours," I said, "and now it never will be." Candace lunged at me. Actually lunged. Darnell caught her around the waist, pulling her back. She was screaming, crying, completely unhinged. "I will destroy you," she shrieked, as Darnell dragged her toward the door. "I will make you pay for this. You'll never see your son again. Never. Do you hear me? Never." The door slammed behind them. I stood in my living room, shaking from head to toe. Through the window, I watched them arguing in the driveway. Watched Candace hit my son, actually hit him, slapping his chest, his arms, screaming in his face. I picked up my phone and called Mr. Jenkins. "I need you to do something for me," I said when he answered. "I need you to make absolutely certain that Lakehouse deed can never be transferred to anyone without my explicit written consent. And I need you to put it in writing that upon my death, the property goes to my son Darnell alone, not to him and his wife, just him. Can you do that?" "Evelyn, what's happened?" "Just tell me you can do it." "I can. I'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow." I hung up and sat down on my couch, my whole body trembling. Outside, I watched Candace's BMW squeal out of my driveway. My phone started buzzing. Text after text. From Candace's phone. "You're a hateful old woman. You never wanted us to be happy. You've ruined our lives. Darnell will never forgive you." I blocked her number. Then my son's number appeared. A text. "Mama, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. Can we talk?" I started to type a response, then deleted it. Started again. Deleted it again. Finally, I just wrote, When you're ready to stand up for yourself. I'll be here. I love you. But I won't be disrespected in my own home. I put my phone on silent and went to my closet, pulled out that box, opened it, looked at the deed with my parents' names, my name, my life's history written in legal language on official paper. I kept my promise, Mama, I whispered. I kept it in the family. My phone was lighting up with notifications, but I didn't look. I just sat there with that deed in my hands, thinking about everything that had been lost and everything that had been saved. The war wasn't over. I could feel it in my bones. Candace wasn't the type to let this go. And Darnell, my poor baby, was trapped in the middle. But for the first time in months, I felt something other than sadness and guilt. I felt strong. The next morning, I woke up to find my son sleeping in his car in my driveway. He'd been there all night, curled up in the back seat of his Honda like a homeless man. It broke my heart all over again. I knocked on the window. He jerked awake, looking disoriented and afraid. When he saw it was me, he started crying. "She changed the locks," he said when I got him inside, wrapped in a blanket with hot coffee in his hands. "I went back to the townhouse last night, and my key didn't work. She changed the locks on our home, Mama." "That's illegal," I said. "Your name is on the lease, too." "She doesn't care. Her daddy sent me a text at 3 a.m. Said if I try to come back, they'll call the cops and say I'm trespassing. That they have security camera footage of me being violent during arguments." He laughed bitterly. "I've never touched her, Mama. Not once. But they'll lie. They'll do whatever it takes." I called Mr. Jenkins right then, even though it was only 7 a.m. "Bernard, I need a referral. My son needs a good lawyer, family law, someone who won't back down to money and threats." "Say no more," Mr. Jenkins said. "I'll text you a number. LaShonda Freeman, best family law attorney I know. Tell her I sent you." By noon, Darnell and I were sitting in LaShonda Freeman's office in downtown Atlanta. She was a sharp-dressed black woman in her 40s, with kind eyes but a no-nonsense manner. "Let me get this straight," she said after Darnell explained everything. "Your wife locked you out of your marital home, which you jointly lease. Her father is threatening you with false allegations. And all of this started because your mother offered you a valuable property as a gift, which your wife rejected, and now she wants it?" "Yes, ma'am," Darnell said quietly. "And you want—" "I want my life back," Darnell said. "I want to be able to go to my home and get my things. I want her to stop threatening me. And I want—" He paused, looking at me. "I want a divorce. I'm done." Pride swelled in my chest. My baby was finally finding his backbone. LaShonda nodded. "Good. Here's what we're going to do." Over the next week, things moved fast. LaShonda filed an emergency motion to allow Darnell access to the townhouse. She also filed for divorce on Darnell's behalf, citing irreconcilable differences and emotional abuse. She documented everything: the texts from Candace, the threats from her father, the illegal lockout. Candace fought back hard. Her family hired a big law firm, the kind with offices in Buckhead and commercials on TV. They tried to paint Darnell as financially abusive, claiming he'd hidden assets and manipulated finances. They tried to say he'd stolen marital property by convincing me not to give them the Lakehouse deed. But LaShonda was better. She brought receipts. She showed how Candace had demanded cash only, had humiliated me in public, had never shown any interest in family heirlooms or sentimental property. She showed that the Lakehouse had always been mine and was never marital property, so Candace had no claim to it whatsoever. "They're grasping at straws," LaShonda told us after one particularly nasty court hearing. "The judge sees right through it." But the attacks didn't stop. Candace started posting on social media, telling her version of the story, how Darnell's controlling mother had destroyed their marriage, How I had manipulated them both with a fake gift that was really a test. How they were the victims of elder manipulation. Her friends believed her. People I didn't even know were commenting on posts, calling me names, saying I should be ashamed. It hurt. It hurt bad. But I had my own army. Dorothy organized the women from our street. Sister Geneva got the church mothers involved. Pastor Williams preached a whole sermon about honoring your elders and the difference between respecting your parents and worshiping money. People started showing up at my house with food, with hugs, with stories about their own ungrateful children. "You did right," Sister Geneva told me one Sunday after church. "That girl showed you who she was. You believed her. Ain't nothing wrong with that." The hardest part was watching Darnell suffer through it. He was living in my spare bedroom, the same room he'd slept in as a boy. He'd lost weight, lost his confidence, lost his smile. He went to work, came home, sat quietly at my kitchen table. Sometimes I'd hear him crying in his room at night. "Baby," I said one evening, sitting next to him. I'm sorry this happened. If I had just given her the deed—" "No, Mama." He looked at me with red eyes. "Don't you dare apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. You offered us a beautiful gift, and she threw it back in your face. I should have stood up for you that night. I should have left her then. But I was too weak, too afraid of being alone." "You're not weak. You're human. I let her treat you like garbage. I let her disrespect you over and over again. What kind of son does that?" "The kind who loved his wife and wanted his marriage to work. There's no shame in that." We sat there holding hands, just like we used to when he was little and scared of the dark. The divorce proceedings dragged on for 6 weeks. Candace kept demanding spousal support, even though they'd only been married 5 years, and she made almost as much as Darnell. She kept trying to claim half of my Lakehouse, saying it had been promised to them and therefore was a verbal contract. The judge shut that down real quick. "Mrs. Harrison Coleman," Judge Martinez said during one hearing, "you rejected the gift in question without even viewing its contents. Your mother-in-law has provided testimony and witnesses confirming this rejection. You have no legal claim to property that was never transferred to you." "But she offered it!" Candace shrieked. "She offered it, and that's a binding—" "That's enough," the judge said firmly. "An offer that is rejected is no longer valid. This court will not reward your refusal to accept a gift by granting you that same gift through legal action. Move on." Candace's lawyer tried a different angle. They claimed I had manipulated Darnell, had turned him against Candace, had engaged in parental alienation. LaShonda destroyed that argument in 5 minutes. "Your Honor, my client's husband was locked out of his home illegally. He was threatened with false accusations. He has documented proof of emotional abuse spanning years. The only alienation that occurred was Mrs. Harrison Coleman alienating him from his mother, his dignity, and his sense of self-worth. Mrs. Evelyn Coleman did not alienate anyone. She simply stopped allowing herself to be abused." The judge ruled in Darnell's favor on almost everything. Candace got nothing except her personal belongings and her car. No spousal support, no claim to Darnell's pension or savings. Nothing. When the judge read the final decree, Candace stood up and screamed, "This is discrimination! You're siding with them because—" "Bailiff," the judge said calmly. Security escorted Candace from the courtroom. Mr. Harrison followed, red-faced and furious. As they passed our table, he leaned down and hissed, "You'll regret this, all of you." "Is that a threat, Mr. Harrison?" LaShonda asked loudly. "Because we can go back in front of the judge right now." He stormed out. Darnell just sat there, staring at the papers in his hands. His divorce decree, his freedom. "It's over," he whispered. "It's really over." "Yes, baby," I said, squeezing his hand. "It's over." But it wasn't. Not quite. 2 days later, I got a call from the police. Someone had filed a report claiming I was running a scam targeting elderly property owners in the Lake Lanier area. They said I was pretending to own property I didn't own, trying to sell fake deeds. It was ridiculous. Obviously false. But I had to go down to the station, bring my documentation, prove that I legitimately owned my lake house. The officer who took my statement looked embarrassed. "Ma'am, I'm sorry about this. We have to follow up on every report, but it's clear this is frivolous. Probably someone with a grudge." "Let me guess," I said. "The report came from someone named Harrison?" The officer couldn't confirm, but his face told me everything. I called LaShonda. She filed harassment charges, sent a cease and desist letter to the entire Harrison family, threatened a restraining order if they contacted me or Darnell again. It worked. The harassment stopped. But the story wasn't done spreading. Somehow, some way, my story ended up online. Not from me. I never posted anything. But someone who'd been in that courtroom, or maybe one of Candace's friends trying to make me look bad, posted the whole saga on social media. "Greedy mother-in-law destroys marriage by refusing to give son and wife a valuable property deed." That was the headline. The comments were vicious at first. People calling me selfish, manipulative, controlling. But then other people started responding. People who'd read the full story. People who understood. Wait. She offered them the deed as a gift, and the daughter-in-law threw it back without even opening it? And now she's mad? The audacity! You don't get to reject a gift and then demand it back when you find out it was valuable. This mother-in-law is a queen. She tried to give them something precious, and they treated her like trash. They got exactly what they deserved. The narrative shifted. Suddenly, people were on my side. My phone started ringing with interview requests. Local news wanted to talk to me. A podcast about family drama wanted me to tell my story. I said no to all of it. This wasn't about fame or validation. This was about protecting what my parents built. About standing up for myself. About teaching my son that love shouldn't hurt. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Darnell came home from work with something different in his eyes. Hope. "Mama," he said, "I got a promotion. Senior accountant. 20% raise." "Baby, that's wonderful." "And I've been talking to a therapist. The one LaShonda recommended. We've been working through everything. All the ways I let Candace make me feel small. All the ways I lost myself." I hugged him tight. "I'm so proud of you." "I want to show you something," he said. "Can we take a drive?" We drove north toward Lake Lanier. I knew where we were going before he even turned onto Willow Cove Road. The Lakehouse looked just like I remembered. Small, humble, perfect. The late November sun sparkled on the water. The trees had lost their leaves, but the view was still beautiful. "I haven't been here since I was 12, Darnell said, getting out of the car. "Why did we stop coming?" "Life got busy," I said. "Your daddy died. Work took over. I don't know. We just stopped." We walked down to the water. Darnell picked up a flat stone and skipped it across the lake, just like his grandfather had taught him all those years ago. "Mama," he said quietly, "I don't want the lake house. I know that's what you thought, that I wanted it, that I needed it. But I don't. This place should stay yours. It's your connection to your parents, your past. I don't need property to know I'm loved. I just need you." Tears rolled down my face. "Oh, baby. But I would like to visit sometimes, if that's okay. Bring a fishing rod. Sit on that porch. Remember Granddad. Remember Dad. Remember when things were simple." "Anytime," I said. "Anytime you want. This is your home too. It always will be." We stood there by the water until the sun started to set, painting the sky orange and purple and pink. My phone buzzed. A text from Dorothy. "Girl, you watching Channel 2? I pulled up the news app on my phone. There was a story about Candace. She'd been arrested for trying to file fraudulent property claims. Apparently, after losing in court, she'd tried to forge documents claiming she had a verbal contract for my Lakehouse. She'd submitted these fake documents to the county clerk's office, trying to get the deed transferred to her name. It was a felony. "Oh my God," Darnell whispered, reading over my shoulder. We watched as the story unfolded. Candace's mugshot appeared. Her father had bailed her out, but she was facing serious charges. Her job at the marketing firm had fired her. Her reputation was destroyed. "I should feel happy," Darnell said. "But I just feel sad. Sad that it came to this. Sad that she threw away everything for money and property and status." "That's because you have a good heart," I said. "But don't feel too sad. She made her choices. Now she has to live with them." 6 months later, spring had come to Atlanta. The dogwoods were blooming. The weather was perfect. I was in my garden planting tomatoes when Pastor Williams called. "Sister Evelyn, I have a proposition for you. The church youth group wants to do a summer camp experience, something to teach them about nature, community, hard work. I was wondering, would you consider letting us use your lake house for a week? We'd clean it up, maintain it, treat it with respect, give these kids a chance to experience something they might never get otherwise." I thought about it. Thought about my parents, who'd bought that property so our family could have access to something beautiful. Thought about legacy and purpose and what really mattered. "Yes," I said. "On one condition. Darnell helps lead it, gets involved, teaches the boys how to fish, like his granddad taught him." "Deal," Pastor Williams said. That summer, I watched my son come alive again. Watched him teach teenagers how to bait a hook, how to identify birds, how to swim safely. Watched him laugh for the first time in over a year. Really laugh, from his belly, like he used to before Candace stole his joy. On the last night of the camp, we had a cookout on the beach. The youth group sang songs, told stories, thanked us for the experience. One girl about 16 came up to me. "Miss Evelyn, my mama says you're the lady from the news, the one who stood up for herself." "I suppose I am," I said. "My mama says you're her hero. She's been dealing with my daddy's people treating her bad for years. But after she heard your story, she started standing up for herself too. I just wanted to say thank you. You helped my family." I hugged that child and cried right there on the beach. Later, sitting on the porch with Darnell, watching the stars come out over the water, my son turned to me. "Mama, I met someone." "Oh?" "At the therapy group. Her name is Simone. Wait, no, sorry, I mean Kenya. Kenya Thompson. She's a teacher. Been divorced 2 years. Has a little girl named Aria. She's different, Mama. She's kind. She laughs at my jokes. She doesn't care that I drive a Honda or that I rent an apartment. She just likes me for me." "Then I can't wait to meet her," I said. "I'm taking it slow this time, really slow, learning from my mistakes. But I think maybe I get a second chance at this, at happiness." "You deserve it, baby. You deserve all the happiness in the world." We sat there in comfortable silence, listening to the water lap against the shore. My phone had long since stopped ringing with drama. The social media posts had died down. Candace had pleaded guilty to the fraud charges and gotten probation, community service, and a permanent criminal record. She'd moved back in with her parents. I heard through the grapevine that she was working retail now, bitter and alone. I didn't celebrate her downfall. I just felt grateful that my son had escaped before she destroyed him completely. "Mama," Darnell said, "I never thanked you properly, for holding on to this place, for standing firm, for teaching me that I'm worth more than what I can provide. Thank you." "You don't have to thank me for loving you," I said. "That's what mothers do." "No," he said. "Some mothers give up everything to keep their kids happy, even when it hurts them. Even when it's wrong. You loved me enough to let me face consequences, to let me hurt so I could learn. That's a different kind of love, a stronger kind. We hugged there on that porch, my baby boy and me, while the lake whispered its ancient songs. I thought about my parents, who'd scrimped and saved to buy this place, who'd given me roots and wings, who'd taught me that dignity matters, that self-respect matters, that some things are too precious to give away to people who can't see their value. I'd kept my promise. I'd kept it in the family. And more than that, I'd kept my self-respect. I'd kept my dignity. I'd kept my peace. The Lakehouse was still mine. My son was free and healing. The legacy continued. And in the end, that was worth more than all the vacation condos in Hilton Head. Worth more than all the BMWs and townhouses in Midtown. Worth more than gold. That night, I slept in my childhood bedroom at the Lakehouse, with the windows open and the lake breeze cooling my face. I dreamed of my parents, young and laughing, dancing on the beach. My daddy called out to me, "You done good, Evie girl. You done real good." When I woke up, the sun was rising over the water, painting everything gold and new. I was 63 years old. I'd lost a daughter-in-law but kept my son. I'd faced down lawyers and judges and social media mobs. I'd stood alone when it would have been easier to give in. And I'd won. Not because I kept the property, though I did. Not because Candace faced consequences, though she did. I'd won because I'd remembered who I was. A Coleman. A daughter of survivors. A woman who knew her worth. And nobody, not even someone wearing a wedding ring and calling me mother, could take that away from me. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.